Okay, so let us get started. How are you all? It's been after a few days that we are meeting again. So, how many of you have actually taken certification, AZ 900 certification through our previous course? And how many of you are new to Azure here? I have assumed, or I originally assumed that uh, people who come for this session would have already gone through the previous sessions. But so later I heard many of you have not gone through the previous sessions. So I thought I'll do a recap today, not on everything, only a few important things, and then we can move forward with our AZ 104 certification. But before that, we will see the topics and we will discuss few things, and then I will share the plan for this certification. Okay, and so just to add, if you have not seen previous recordings, you can see it from YouTube. Uh, the channel name is CloudRix, and you can just type yt.cloudrix.com in your browser, and it will automatically redirect you to the YouTube channel. Okay, so that said, let us get started. Okay, getting started with Azure for AZ 104. And so this is the first session. So do not expect a lot of things out of this session, but we will still do a walkthrough of the AZ 104 certification syllabus. Then we will do a recap of Cloud Computing 101, Azure Architecture Summary, Azure Support Plans Summary, Azure Subscriptions, Management Groups, and Resource Groups, and few other things. Okay, so this is just a start, and from upcoming sessions, I'm also planning to include lab sessions, but the rule for labs will be slightly different than webinar. And lab sessions, unlike the theory sessions, will not be uh, live streamed due to technical challenges, but the result of the lab will be live streamed. Okay, so let us get started. And as always, we have a simple agenda, which is know your teacher, announcements and thought of the day, getting started with AZ 104, and then you have support plans summary and subscriptions and management groups. We will start with the subscriptions and management groups today, and we will continue the journey in next class, probably with some labs and more exercises. Okay, unlike the previous AZ 900 session, so here you will need to do labs and get hands-on as much as possible. So if you are not able to do, at least go through the lab notes that I am preparing, and some of these labs will also go into the next Azure cookbook I am writing. You can let me know if you are not able to do labs because of any reasons. One common reason is some people do not have a credit card. Okay, so let us get started. Okay, know your teacher. The idea is the more you know about your teacher and his or her abilities, the better you will learn from them. It is not to tell you that I am great or anything, so just to make you believe that I can teach you something. Okay, so about me, I'm an author, architect, and tech evangelist. I have a couple of master's degrees on cloud computing and data analytics, and I have a few certifications, and I have also worked in some companies including TCS, American Express, SAP, Ariba, Software AG, uh, IG Infotech, VMware, and Society General. And I have taught some students also. I've been teaching for many years now through my blogs, javaj.com and cloudrisk.com. And these are my current books. And one of the book, AWS Security Cookbook, has come 8th on best cloud computing books of all time by Book Authority. And I like to speak in meetups and conferences, and I like to take webinars to engineering students, teachers, and anybody who is interested in learning. And I read a lot. This is my library. Uh, if you had seen my sessions before lockdown, so this was my background. But currently, I'm in native, and my background is completely different. Okay, I'm also missing my uh, home at Bangalore. So let us continue. Okay, announcements and thought of the week. Okay, first of all, this is a certification preparation crash course. So we may not go deep dive on all the topics, but most of the doubts we will clear live or offline, and we will also deep dive on some of the topics in upcoming sessions for courses. And you can see our learning plan towards the end of today's session, and you can always continue to ask doubts through Facebook groups or buddy cult groups. Okay, you know all these things because these are very common things. So you can ask questions through a Q&A, chat, poll, and live poll can be used to give feedback. And in general, whenever we have quizzes, the first prize for during this session, during this series, I have kept the first prize as your ticket to Buddy Cult, and second and third positions can get access for a year for $1, and rest can get access for $2. Okay, so Buddy Cult is my own version of Facebook with almost all features similar to Facebook, but with the addition of courses. So, so similar to live streaming, you can from within the portal itself you can attend Zoom meetings, so you don't have to log in separately. And moreover, you can also create courses on your own, and then um, ask others to participate. Okay, so there are many things, and then the most important thing is we will be doing a real world project in we have already started it, and then we will be doing it we'll be starting the actual development work in a few days time. And don't worry if you cannot win, and if you don't want to pay, so you have an option to contribute towards this program. Okay, so as you know, Buddy Tutor, any of my initiatives starting with Buddy Tutor, Buddy Cult, and all are done with cooperation of students, and the revenue after I pay service charges goes to students mostly. So for that purpose, I charge a little, but if you don't want to get charged, even that you can also contribute by because we have 100 plus uh, micro topics for this certification, and then 19 mini topics, and you have 5 major topics. Okay, you can take any of these. Okay, if you can take any of these, and then help. Okay, help others, help us, and then you can earn it. Okay, so the idea is not only charging you money, it is mostly about earning it, because when you earn something you'll be serious about it rather than getting it for free. So here you can earn it without even spending any money by actually contributing. And the best part is when you contribute, we are actually learning double. Okay, so because we will provide all materials, and you can also test your public speaking skills. And if you feel that okay, you are not good or you need improvement, we are always there to help you. We also have a Assure trainers group where you can practice, and then you can come to the main group and then deliver your presentation. Okay, Yeah. So if you don't want to do any of this, again, we can join yearly for a very small fee and attend any of the sessions, real world projects, mock interviews, or whatever it is. Okay, and thought of the day: no matter where you are in your life right now, whether you are currently at the top of your game, succeeding at the highest level, or if you are in the midst of an adversity and struggling to find your way, there is at least one thing I know we have in common. Probably a lot more than one, but at least one that I know for sure. We both want to improve our lives and ourselves. This is not to suggest that there is anything wrong with us or our lives, but as human beings, we were born with the innate desire and drive to continuously grow and improve. I believe it is within all of us. Yet, most of us wake up each day and life pretty much stays the same. Okay, so this is a big quote from the book called Miracle Morning by Elrod. But whenever I read this, I feel like so I am the I here. Okay, so it is very important for us to always continuously try to improve ourselves. Okay, so once we stop improving ourselves uh, for whatever reasons, for because of laziness or because I feel I have achieved everything, then your growth stops there. Okay, so always try to improve yourselves, improve ourselves. So we should be so tomorrow we should be better than how we were today. Okay, and if you continue to do that every day, even if we are getting improved by a very little factor, we will soon be a much better person than we are currently. Okay, so let us take a pause and then let us continue. Okay, so getting started with AZ 104, and so in we have a few top level categories. So first is managing Azure identities and governance. We touched upon identities and governance a bit in AZ 900, but we will go deeper in this session, and we have implementation and managing storage account. Then we have deployment and management of Azure compute resources, such as virtual machines, containers, and all. And you have a configuration and management of virtual networking. It has a very high percentage weightage, which is 30 to 35%. And we also have monitoring and backup of Azure resources. Okay, so let us go through one by one. Oh, why I am taking you through all these things is because if you feel like you want to take a session on any of this major topic or minor topic or micro topic, you can let me know as soon as possible, because topic will be allocated first come first serve. So if you want to take a session, take the easiest one, and I will guide you on what else to do to take the session, including providing you with the questions that you need to use while taking the session. Okay, so manage Azure AD objects. So Azure AD, even in AS 900, uh, we had discussed enough, but so here we'll be discussing much more in depth, and also role-based access control, and then management of subscriptions and governance. Okay, so these are the subtopics. So create users and groups, manage user and group properties, manage device settings, perform bulk user updates, manage guest accounts, configure Azure AD join, and configure self-service password reset. Okay, so they have also mentioned what is not there. And under RBAC, we have things such as create a custom role, provide access to Azure resources by assigning roles, subscriptions, resource groups, resources such as VM disk, etc., and then interpret access assignments and manage multiple directories. So why I have put these numbers in left is because you don't have to type everything. So if you want to take a session on any of these, you can just send me the numbers. And manage subscriptions and governance. You have configure Azure policies. We have learned theoretically about Azure policies in ISO 900. Resource logs, again, we have learned theoretically applying tags, creating and managing resource groups, move resources, remove RGs, manage subscriptions, configure cost management, configure management groups. So that is about the subscription side. So now, after that, we will move to implementing and managing storage. First section is managing storage accounts. Second section is managing data in Azure storage. Third is configuring Azure files and Azure blob storage. Under first section, we have configuring network access to storage accounts, creating and configuring storage accounts, generate shared access signature, manage access keys, implementing Azure storage replication, configuring Azure AD authentication for a storage account. And under managing data in Azure storage, export from Azure Job, import into Azure Job, installing and using Azure Storage Explorer, copy data by using AZ copy. And under Azure Files and blob storage, we have create an Azure Files share, create and configure Azure File Sync service, configuring Azure blob storage, configuring storage types for Azure blobs. Okay, and under deployment and management of Azure compute resources, we have configuring VMs for high availability and scalability, automate deployment and configuration of VMs, creating and configuring VMs, creating and configuring containers, creating and configuring web apps. And we have configuring high availability and deployment and configuration of scale sets. Also modify Azure resource manager template, configuring VHD template, deployment from template, save deployment as ARM template, automate configuration management by using custom script extensions. Configuring Azure disk encryption, move VMs from one resource group to another, manage VM sizes, add data disk, configure networking, redeploy VMs, creating and configuring Azure Kubernetes service, creating and configuring Azure container instances, create and configure app service, create and configure app service plans. So don't worry, there are a lot of things. I'm just reading out those things just to let you know that, okay, there are many things to learn and practice. And I'll try to add labs for all these, at least one per topic. Implement and manage virtual networking, configuring load balancer, configuring name resolution, which is a DNS, monitoring and troubleshooting virtual networking, secure access to virtual networks, integrating on-premises network with an Azure virtual network, create and configure VNet peering, configuring private and public IP addresses, and network routes, network interface, subnets, and virtual network, configuring Azure DNS, configuring custom DNS settings, configuring a private and public DNS zone, create security rules, associate an NSG to a subnet on a network interface, evaluate effective security rules, deploy and configure Azure Firewall, deploy and configure Azure Bastion service, configuring application gateway, configuring an internal load balancer, configuring load balancing rules, configuring a public load balancer, and troubleshooting load balancing. Also, monitoring on-premises connectivity using network performance monitor, using network watcher, troubleshoot external networking, and troubleshoot virtual network connectivity. And then we have create and configure Azure VPN gateway, creating and configure VPNs, configuring ExpressRoute, and configuring Azure Virtual WAN. Okay, so last session, like monitoring and backing up of Azure resources, you have configuring and interpreting metrics, analyze metrics across subscriptions, configuring log analytics, implementing a log analytics workspace, configuring diagnostic settings, query and analyze logs, create a query, save a query to the dashboard, interpret graphs, set up alerts and actions, create and test alerts, create action groups, view alerts in Azure Monitor, analyze alerts across subscriptions, configuring application insights, and configuring and reviewing backup reports, performing backup and restore operations by using Azure Backup Service, creating a recovery service vault, using soft delete to recover Azure VMs, creating and configuring backup policy, performing site-to-site recovery by using Azure Site Recovery. Okay, it was a very big read. So, how many of you are happy because we have a lot of topics, and how many of you are actually afraid, and how many of you are actually confident that whatever it is, we will do it together? Okay, afraid, confident. So you don't have to worry because we are a group. So okay, the subjects look challenging. Yes, we will do it together. I'm ready to learn. We will do it together. This is gonna be never ending, is what it seems. Okay, so uh, I've made a few changes to our original plans. So we were planning to take one certification per month, and in this month it was he said 104. But the more I went deeper into the topics, I felt like it is impossible to complete it in this month. So we will take the rest of this month and November, and then we will complete AZ 104. Okay, so as you can see, there are lots of topics. So if some of you can also step up and help with the material preparation, or taking a session, whatever it is, whatever help you can provide, it will be great. And if anybody of you want to even get paid for your sessions, that is also fine with me. But the goal is to learn together and then complete AZ one sort of for preparation but before the end of November. Okay, and also, so currently we are doing this live stream in the Azure Cloud main group. But so further sessions on Azure Administrator AZ 104 will be live streamed in the Azure admin group. Okay, so I had shared the link few times in the main group. You can search and you can find out, and then you can join the Azure admin group. And also, I'll be sharing more and more sample questions and things that can help you prepare better in that group. I don't want to clutter the main group with all certification preparation things. So that is why we have separate groups for each of these things. And if you don't know where to find a group for a particular certification, you can always go to azure.cloudrix.com, and then you can find out everything, including previous recordings or uh, registration for this session, and a lot more things. Okay, just azure.cloudrix.com and you will be taken there. Okay, so let me take 1 minute break, and then we will continue with some learning along with some recap. Okay, so again, can you all hear me and see me? Yes. Okay. Okay, so we will first, yeah, I liked it, Sudhi, so I captain. Okay, so let us start with a recap of cloud computing 101. Uh, I am assuming you already have at least gone through the first session, which is titled as Cloud Computing 101 from the AZ 900 series, where I am actually going very deep into the cloud computing essential concepts. So these are some of the things that we learned in that. First, we discuss about bare metal. So what is bare metal? So bare metal is your hardware. Okay. So in that, so you can compare it with a computer. Okay. So you initially you had bare metal, or imagine that you had a computer, and then what did you do? You implemented server virtualization. Means within one computer, or whether within one host, you can have multiple virtual machines. Okay, so that was first level of abstraction. Then later, what happened? So you had containers. Okay, so while virtualization is virtual machines over a single host, again, so we also learned about different kinds of virtualization, or different kinds of hypervisors. Hypervisor is the tool that actually makes virtualization possible, and you have type 1 hypervisor and type 2 hypervisor. Type 1 hypervisor allow you to run virtual machines directly over the host or bare metal, and type 2 hypervisor allow you to run virtual machines over an operating system. Okay, and then the next level of abstraction was containers, and we saw that Docker was the most one of the most popular one, and because of that, even the company that created Docker. So does anybody still remember the company that created Docker? We had a quiz also. Okay, so nobody remember. So we had a quiz also. So it was not Google, it was not Docker Inc. Okay, it was a company called Dot Cloud Inc. And because Docker became popular, they changed the company name to Docker Inc. Okay, so nobody nobody remembers whatever we discussed in session one, or the cloud computing 101 session. Okay, so do check it out. You can, I have created a shortcut. You can just type az101.cloudrx.com in browser, and it will take you directly to the playlist. Okay, at least see the first session. Better see all the sessions. And then we looked into container orchestration. So once containers became popular, the next biggest problem was who will manage all these containers, and that is where container orchestration idea came, and then Kubernetes was one of the uh, first thing that clicked and became popular. Okay, so who developed Kubernetes? Okay, Google. Yeah. So this time everybody are correct. And who manages Kubernetes now? Yeah, it was donated. Okay, so whenever you are answering, you can answer to all panelists and attendees, so that others can also see. Otherwise, I will have to read it out always, because only I see it. But if you are yeah, sending some hidden messages, or something which is personal, or some negative feedback, you can mention only panelists. I'll try not to read it. Okay, so these were the abstractions, and uh, these were the abstractions that we discussed. But cloud providers are actually working on more and more abstractions. Okay, so there is a discussion on a topic called mini virtual machines. Okay, which has some of the security features and boundaries from virtual machine, but they are lightweight, similar to containers. Anybody know any such products or have heard about any such products? At least yes or no? Okay, so I'll give it as an assignment. Uh, and I heard even AWS is using that. It was developed by AWS, I believe, and then we made it open source, and they are using it for running serverless. Okay, oh, I forgot to put serverless here, or I would have put it in the next slide. Okay, and road to cloud and beyond. So initially there were data centers. So what are data centers? Okay, Remia is asking, is it Lambda? No, no. So Lambda is writing a code, but so behind the scenes, who runs your Lambda? So Lambda, because if you run using containers, if you run using virtual machines, so how does this Lambda or serverless work? Okay, you basically pay only for the time your service is being used. For example, you have a website, and you'll be charged only when somebody actually hit or make request to that website. And how it is made possible? By bringing up your server only when it is needed. And imagine if you are using a virtual machine for that purpose. So by the time the virtual machine load, your customers will definitely go to your competitor. But if you uh, but if you start it very fast, then you can save a lot of money. And then in general, people started using containers for that purpose. But the problem with containers is containers doesn't have that security boundary same as that of virtual machines. That is where in between things are being developed. Okay, so you can Google and find out. Okay, so I'll give it as an assignment for you. Okay, so data centers are the place where servers are placed and managed by cloud providers. Yes, Kumar. So a facility where server, switch, storage, and backup appliances are kept to host application databases. Yes, and in our cloud computing 101 session, I had even put a picture of data center. So this is just a recap. So I didn't put that picture, but you can all refer to that. Then we discussed about. Then came cloud computing. So okay, so I had asked a question then. So data centers are there. The data centers were there before cloud computing. Even for cloud computing, also you have data centers. So what is the difference? So the difference here is that, anybody want to fill in? What is the difference between traditional data centers and cloud computing? Anybody want to try? So everybody said you will contribute, right? So yeah, traditional is on. Yeah, you share storage. Okay. Okay. Traditional is you need to pay only for which we use. Before it was managed by organizational as on premises. Okay. So if all these definitions are true, then tell me. But it will not be managed by cloud providers. Okay. So what do you mean by a private cloud? So whatever you have mentioned here is the differences between a public cloud and a data center. Now tell me, what is the difference between a private cloud and a data center? Okay, so we shall ask whether I can enable. mic. Let me. Okay, Vishal, you can talk.
Hi, am I audible?
Okay. Oh, just give me a second. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I realized I was not using headphones, so I was not able to hear you. Okay, now you can please repeat, and then we can.
Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so a private cloud mean we are investing in our own data center where we take care of all the assets which come in the in the process of capex and opex. So in a way, we are responsible for providing the service, and all this setup is actually called a private cloud where everything is intranet here.
Okay, so how is it different from a traditional data center? So that is so whatever you mentioned, all these things are there for a traditional private data center also. So what is the cloud computing thing?
So what happens in cloud is like we are not responsible then on the infrastructure side. Let's say if we have a code, we can hand it over to the cloud provider and in the form of function where it runs on a serverless architecture. And let's say if we want to go as a complete SaaS service to the cloud provider, that is when like it's a complete cloud stack solution which we give.
Okay, so yeah, because you can all try to answer. So people are mentioning a private cloud private network is managed by the cloud provider. That is hardware side of configuration. Uh, okay, can you tell me a private cloud provider? Because so this is common doubts people have.
See,
Uh,
I mean, if you talk about private cloud, if I take everyone back 6, 7 years back, CSC brought this market where they used to outsource their own data centers, and that is where they played a very key role in that. Then followed by Accenture came into the market. Then there now if you talk, there are like many players who offer this. Like if you have your code and application, that is where they outsource their data centers to you, and on the basis of the utility model, they used to cross charge for the
okay,
services.
but those are all data centers. So
That's right.
how? Yeah. So what is this cloud computing?
Cloud is where, like, I mean, we are not using, let's say, any new startup coming into the business, and they don't want to like go ahead and establish any of the data centers or something. Then they go to cloud providers.
No, no. So,
They
so you are talking about public cloud. Okay,
Yes,
I am
yes.
talking about a private cloud and data center. Okay, yeah. Srinivas has mentioned VMware, Dell, Oracle, private cloud providers. Yeah, VMware is one of the most popular private cloud provider. I was
Mhm.
also working there for long. So in private cloud company owns data center. Even in case of data center also, because uh, one thing you have to understand is the difference between traditional data center and cloud computing is that even in cloud computing also the cloud provider owns the data center, right? So the
Yes.
important difference is that previously you, because when I started uh, when I was a long time back, so 10 maybe 12 15 years back, when I was working on my websites, I used to take a hosting space from my hosting provider, not a cloud provider, hosting provider. So when I take a space from this hosting provider, I'll take a shared hosting, or at that time I could only afford a shared hosting. So I would take shared hosting for a year, and then if in between, if I don't want, I will still continue to pay for all this time. And also, whenever I want to provision something, so somebody will provision me these resources, and whenever I do not want, somebody, I will raise a request, and then somebody will cancel it, or when I don't pay, then also people will cancel it. So that was the traditional model. And traditional model also, people were using data centers. The difference between the traditional model and cloud model is that cloud, everything is automated. Okay, let it be a public cloud or a private cloud. So the allocation of resources is done by software, and there is zero manual intervention. Okay, so everything you can uh, automatically do through software. You don't have to manually go and figure out, okay, my so this server has 5 GB available, and this server has 10 GB available, so I will allocate space from this server or that server. All those things are abstracted away in cloud. Okay, in cloud means you have the capacity of automatic provisioning. If you have been in IT for long, you know that in at least in my cases earlier, whenever I wanted a VM, I used to raise a request and then wait for the admin team to provision it, and then I'll get it after a few days. And if I do not want, I uh, because of the time it takes to provision, I might still keep it with me, and I use whenever it is needed for my use case.
We
But
still
now,
follow that approach here in my company.
yeah, so now with the cloud computing, with pure cloud computing, you have the option to actually provision it whenever you need, and stop the service whenever you do not need. Everything is automated, and there is no manual intervention. That is the primary difference between your traditional cloud and your traditional data center and cloud. Okay, so again, so that was only the first level of abstraction, which is uh, abstracting away the infrastructure part. So you don't have to worry about infrastructure. A software layer will take care of all the provisioning. Okay, the provisioning of virtual machines, for example. Then again, we developers like abstractions so much, so we created platform as a service, where you do not need to worry about virtual machine or operating system. You have to worry about only your platform. Then we learned about SaaS, where you do not have to worry about anything. You just use the software as a service on cloud. Okay, so like your Gmail and all those things. So we had seen many examples and all those things in the cloud 101 session. And then you have serverless, where serverless does not mean you do not have servers. Servers are still there, but you don't manage it. Okay, you don't manage even your programming language runtime server. Okay, everything is taken care by your cloud provider. You just have to mention which runtime you need to use and which version. Okay, so in general, you have function as a service and backend as a service that comes under serverless. And one of the advantages of moving to cloud computing was the capex versus opex discussion. So with cloud, most of the thing with on-premise, with the private data center, most of the so the capex part or the capital expenditure is very high, and in case of cloud computing, most of the capex moves to opex, which is the operational expenditure. And we also saw the features of a cloud, such as high availability, scalability. We discussed about scale out, scale up, elasticity, fault tolerance, disaster recovery, low latency. It does not mean that these things are not there with our private data centers, but the difference is that so with the private data centers, to achieve most of these things, such as high availability, scalability, elasticity, fault tolerance, disaster recovery, and all, you need additional cost. Okay, so for example, how do you how do you implement a disaster recovery? You will have a VM ready to be provisioned when your primary VM stops working. In case of cloud, what do? You can configure it, and whenever your primary server stop working, the other server can or the backup server can come up. And in public cloud, you only pay for the time your server is running. So either primary server is running or a secondary server is running. So effectively, whatever you pay will be same, and you get disaster recovery. How about in a private data center? So private data center, for this to happen, you will need to buy additional virtual machine and keep it ready, or you have to provision that resources or additional backup server and keep it ready, and whenever your primary server goes down, that has to come up. Okay, so this backup server is sitting there just for your primary server to fail. Okay, so you are not utilizing it, but in case of but still paying for it. But in case of public cloud, you only pay for whatever you use, right? So most of these things such as high availability, scalability, elasticity, fault tolerance, and disaster recovery comes out of the box, and you don't have to pay extra for extra resources, as in the case with your private data center. Even so scalability, so imagine that you have so currently uh, so these days all shopping providers in India especially are on Diwali sale and all, right? So whenever this sale happens, so you need a lot of compute capacity, and so imagine that you in normal days you need one server to process things, and in these kind of sales you need say 25 servers. So you in private cloud or in your private data center, that is not that easy, because one option is you have to buy and keep 25 servers, because it is not practical to go and rent out 25 servers, bring to your data center, configure it just for this, and then after that give it back, right? So in physical data centers it is not a practical option. So what you will do, you will take all these 25 servers and get ready for this big sale. But in cloud you can scale. Okay, you can scale, and then you can have 25 servers during the sale, and after that you can uh, just give back those servers to uh, whatever cloud provider you are using, and then get back and then you do not have to pay for that anymore. Okay, so Pradeep has asked, so the only difference is the flexibility of opting resource and automation. Yeah, that is the difference between a private cloud and a private data center. But when you say public cloud, there are many advantages like the ones I mentioned. So all these things you get it at a much lower cost than a private cloud or a traditional data center. And we also discussed about public, private, and hybrid cloud models. Okay, so now any doubts from because so all these things were discussed in great depths in the cloud computing 101 session, but here we will not go deeper. I'm just touching upon things so that you can know that okay, I'm not very strong on those areas, so I might have to go back and see them a bit. Okay, any questions, doubts? At least one, no? Just to make sure that I am still connected to. Okay, good.
All good.
Okay, so let us continue. Okay, so then in the Azure architecture session, what did we learn? So we learned about Azure Portal, Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell, and Azure Cloud Shell, different options to actually interact with Azure. And Azure Portal is the UI portal.azure.com, and you can create personalized dashboards, and it is available through web and mobile devices. And you have Azure CLI. It is a command line interface. It is more stable than Portal, because the Portal the changes happens more frequently. So even if I provide some screenshots, there is a chance that it can change in near future. So if you find any changes in the screenshots, you can let me know. And you have commands. So you can install it over different operating systems, and in CLI commands generally follow a common structure. And you have PowerShell, which is Microsoft's own tool. It is a task automation and configuration management framework for Microsoft, consisting of a command line shell and the associated scripting language. It is not limited to Azure only, and it has a set of command lines for managing Azure resources directly from the PowerShell command line. Again, I'll not go deep into PowerShell because we had another series for PowerShell, which was taken by Kiran, who is a moderator at PowerShell.org, and then I was just moderating it. Okay, so that is how I want to take things going forward. I don't want to do a one-man show here. I want you guys to come forward, take sessions, and I'll be there to help you, guide you, and moderate the session. Okay, Cloud Shell, it is a interactive browser-based shell. Access through web or mobile app is authenticated and secure. Can choose between CLA and CLA and PowerShell. That is a very important thing. Okay, includes interpreters for languages, can persist data between sessions. It uses storage and has an integrated file editor. The important thing here is the opportunity to choose between CLA and PowerShell. Okay, so we can use this button to start Cloud Shell, and then you can choose whether you want to go with Bash or PowerShell. Okay, so you can do it all from your browser. That is the best part. Okay, to run CLI or run PowerShell, you don't need anything. You just need a browser. Okay, you can from browser you can open Cloud Shell, and from Cloud Shell you can execute either Bash scripts or PowerShell scripts. And we also discuss about regions, paired regions, and availability zones. Okay, so regions are a set of data centers in a geographical region. They are connected through a low latency network. All data centers within a latency defined parameter are generally put as a region. Okay, and there was an assignment. I am giving the assignment again. So find out the regions currently available in Azure. And paired regions, each region is paired with another region, and mostly it is within same geographical area with very few exceptions, and updates are done only to one of the paired regions at a time, so that even if one goes, the other is there, and some of the services automatically replicate between paired regions. And okay, so second assignment, find the list of paired regions. Okay, what are availability zones? Okay, availability zones are unique physical locations within a region, okay, made up of one or more data centers. So there is a confusion that availability zones are only one data center. It can be one or more data center, and the idea is it has its own power, cooling, networking, etc. So if something happens to the power, there is a chance that all of these connected data centers that form a availability zone will go down. And Azure currently has a minimum of 3 availability zones per region. Okay, so let me ask a question. Can I have a region with 2 availability zones? Okay, so what does it mean? You need minimum 3 availability zones present in a region. Okay, so you can ask yourself that question. Okay, I will ask another question. Okay, so I'm not satisfied with your answer. Okay, so can I have a region with no availability zones? Yeah, so yeah, at least somebody has gone through our previous session. Okay, so there are two kinds of regions. Okay, so that is why I think my assumption was completely wrong. People have not gone through basics, or they said 900 or 101 sessions. You have recommended region, and you have other or alternate region. In even if whenever you choose regions, also you can see recommended and other. Okay, recommended regions have the standard availability zone functionality, and the other region does not support availability zones. Okay, so you can have regions without any availability zone. If you go to your portal and if you do a drop down of regions, you can see recommended and other. And also you have regional service, which is regional and non-regional service, and also a single geographical area can have more than one region. Example, North America has East US, West US, etc. And data transfer between regions are charged as usual, paid egress and free ingress. In general, in most clouds, coming in is free, going out is chargeable. Okay, so either you have to refresh your knowledge or from previous sessions, or get familiarized with those things in some way, because either you have not attended previous session or attended and then forgotten most of the things. Okay, so recommended region, alternative region, do not forget. And you also saw Azure Marketplace. And so so whatever services we see here, get familiarized with its corresponding PowerShell commands. Okay, there is a chance that they can also come within your exam. So again, PowerShell, if you are new to PowerShell, I would recommend you to go to our PowerShell series, which was taken by Kiran. Okay, you can just go to yt.cloudrx.com. It will take you to the YouTube channel. Then you can find out the PowerShell series. Okay, and you can ask any doubts. After seeing that, you can ask any doubts in main group. And Kiran is also there. He can help out, or I can also help out. Okay, so a lot of things we covered, I think. So tell me, out of this recap, how many of you can say that until now? Okay, so now we will go to the rest of the recap. So how many of you can say that you know everything that we discussed in today's session until now? You can say Y for if you believe so, and N if you do not believe. N means you learned something new. Y means you knew everything already. Okay, and 80% aware of topics. If you listened carefully in the previous session, you should be aware of these topics for sure. Okay, missed last session. Okay, don't worry, you can go. Everything is there in YouTube. So just type yt.cloudrx.com and then you can go there. Okay, had some idea and also learn new one. Good. Okay, so let us continue. We had also discussed about Azure support plans. I'm mentioning it here because you can create an account, free account, and we have different support plans such as basic, developer, standard, and professional direct. All these you can get it through portal itself. And if you are a big shot, you can also go for Azure support Premier, which is one level again higher. So you can contact support for pricing. And you can also have enterprise agreement with Azure. And you can also get to this support page from this help plus support blade in Azure. Okay, so I'm just taking you through the things that we already discussed in the previous sessions, because we had a small break. So like in movies or series and all, you will say recap, right? So this is a big recap. And so you can raise a new support request from the help plus support blade. So this was the plan which I was using during that demo. And you can get support from Azure community support page through the MSDN forum or Stack Overflow and all. And we also have our group where you can ask questions. And knowledge center is where you can go through existing docs, which is prepared based on common questions. Okay, again another session gone. And now we'll go to subscriptions, management groups, and resources. Anybody have any questions, doubts, anything to say? Okay, had some idea and also learned new one. Yes, aware of topics. I have seen your ACE 900 videos in YouTube, still in progress. Good. Okay, so I'll take 1 minute break and then we will continue. Okay, I am back. Okay, so I generally get questions on whether I should start with AZ 900 or whether I should start with AZ 104. My suggestion would be, if you want to start with AZ 104 with respect to certification, it is still fine, but always at least cover the topics that is there for AZ 900. You don't have to take the certification exam, but you can still go through the topics. Okay, and also you can go through the sample questions. So I have prepared, in fact my students like you have actually prepared a good set of sample questions where you can practice. So if you have got access to it, so practice until you get 90% or 100%. Okay, so because it is a graded quiz, you can practice as many times as you want, and then your score should be above 90 or 95, then only you can get a pass in my version of certification. Okay, so let us continue. Subscriptions, management groups, and resources. Okay, so in Azure, subscription is one of the most basic and important thing or concept, because a subscription is a logical container for your resources. Okay, all your resources should be part of a subscription, and subscription is the entity that helps Microsoft in billing you. Billing is made per subscription. You can have multiple subscriptions per your account, and you can also organize the subscriptions into containers called as management groups, and then have common governance conditions for subscriptions within that management group. Okay, and so these are some of the types of subscriptions. So these we had only seen the free one and pay as you go in detail within our previous sessions. You also have something called as a cloud solution provider, okay, CSP, and enterprise agreement. Okay, pay as you go means you pay a monthly bill based on your usage to Microsoft. Cloud solution provider means you don't directly pay Microsoft, you will pay partner, and partner will be your first level of contact. And if you are a company, then you can also go for enterprise agreement, where you will need to do some paperwork, and then you get some additional discounts, benefits, and all, but with an agreement of minimum usage. And if you do not use that minimum usage, you'll be still charged for that minimum usage amount. Okay, so these are the three common subscription types. There are also many subscription offers that you can see. I've just listed few here, and so there were many more if you scroll down. And management groups, the single, so it's a hierarchy of uh, groups, and you can have a group under a group, or you can have some subscriptions within a group. It is used for better or easy governance. Okay, and these are some of the limits that we had seen. So we can have up to 10,000 management groups in a single directory. We can have up to 6 levels in depth, and a management group and subscription can only support one parent. So it is a standard hierarchy, and each management group can have as many children. Okay, so just to give just to get an idea, so you can see that you have root management group. Under that, you can have a management group or a subscription. Okay, and what is a resource? Okay, so resource is a manageable item. Okay, so resource is a manageable item that is available through Azure. So all our virtual machines, storage account, so whatever we create in Azure can be considered as a resource. And you have resource groups, which is a logical container that holds resources. And you also have resource provider, which is a service that supplies Azure resources. For example, compute is a resource provider. You can see this resource provider in the left side. Okay, and another very important topic, as we had seen in our earlier AZ 104 syllabus, that Azure manager, so Azure resource manager template. So we had discussed it theoretically in our previous sessions, but here we will be seeing more hands-on with Azure resource manager template. It's a JSON file. It uses a declarative syntax, and the idea of these templates are consistency and reuse. Okay, you can deploy the resources consistently and repeatedly. Just give a second. Okay. So, I generally uh, mute the font. Somehow I forgot, and then okay. So yeah, that is about the resource manager template. We will learn templating and depth in this ACE 104 course. Okay, and then tags. As we learned, we can add tags to resource group or subscription, and each resource or resource group or subscription can have a maximum of 50 uh, tags or key value pairs. And so yeah, this is a suggestion. Like if you need to apply more tags than this maximum, you can use a JSON string for the tag value. And each time we deploy tags using resource manager template, it will replace any tags that were previously applied. Okay, so do you still remember if I so we have something called as logs also, and we can apply log to a subscription, resource group, resource, to prevent other users uh, from accidentally deleting or modifying. We have cannot delete and read only logs. So cannot delete is the delete log, and then you have read only log. Okay, so you can apply at a parent scope, and then it will be inherited to the children. Okay, so what about tags? Can we if we apply a tag to a parent scope, will it be automatically uh, inherited by children? Okay, yeah, no, you okay. So I think somebody raised hand. So I think Remia raised hand. So later, if you want to talk, you can just unmute and talk. Okay. Okay. So again, so tags. So these are the 10 commandments of resource groups that we learned. Okay, are used to group resources logically. Every resource should be part of a resource group. Each resource can be part of only one resource group at a time. We can move resources across resource groups, can contain resources from multiple regions. Resources within a group can access resources from other group. If you delete a resource group, all the resources in that resource group will be deleted. We can use RBAC to control permissions scope to subscriptions, resource groups, or individual resources. Permissions set at subscription or resource group level are inherited by resources. Tags are applied to the resource group or subscription, uh, but they are inherited by the resources. To apply tags from a subscription or resource group to the resources, we can enforce it through Azure policies. We will see Azure policies in next class with lab probably. So resource group is not a resource. Again, Azure resource manager or ARM, it is the deployment and management service. Everything goes through it. User requests from any of the Azure tools, APIs, or SDKs are received by a resource manager. It authenticates and authorizes the request and sends the request to the correct Azure service. To implement infrastructure as a code for Azure solutions, we can use Azure Resource Manager templates. It is a JSON file, as we already saw. And you can create a free account. So for the first month, you'll get around $200 or 13,300 to INR to spend. And so this free credit access a spending limit, as we saw. The spending limit is not automatically enhanced. So once you either finish 30 days or use the complete the free credit, your account will stop working. Then you will need to either upgrade to pay as you go or other offer types to continue using. Okay. Have you learned anything new today? So then it is good, because even in a recap you can learn. Okay, so we will from next session we will take one of these topics in depth. We'll do more exercises, labs, discuss questions and all, and then we will proceed. Okay, and if anybody want to take any session, small or big, or participate in preparing the materials, you can always let me know, and then I will get you involved. Okay. Today we will have a very small quiz. Actually, I want to introduce you to another tool. Okay, it is called Kahoot. Until last week, we were using a tool called Poll Everywhere. Kids use this tool mostly, and they like it. I want to know whether you like this one or the previous one. Okay, so yeah, game pin 255891, as you can see in screen. We saw this today. Okay, correct answer was 50. Okay, so this is so unlike the previous one, we could see top 10. So here I can see only top 5, but you will be able to see your positions and scores. Resource logs can be applied to any resource to block modification or deletion. Resource logs can be set to which of the following. Select all that apply. Okay, so which resources can be moved to a new subscription out of these? Yeah, majority of you answered it correctly. Or you can move all of these. Okay, again, it was tags. So up 4 places, Arun is the highest climber. I had put it in today's session. Majority of you answered it correctly. Yeah, it was just a fun game. So usually for real meetups and all, we use this tool. Okay, how many classes will be there? Yeah, there will be. So that is the tricky part. There may be around 19 sessions based on 19 mini topics. Okay, we saw the major topics, mini topics, and micro topics, right? Okay, so if you go to azure.cloudrisk.com/az104. I'm just preparing the course page, so you can see the divisions, and then so these are the major topics, 5 major topics, and then some the 19 minor topics. Actually, there are many micro topics also, which counts to 100 plus, so which we saw in our session. So at least we will focus on one by one this mini topics, such as managing Azure Radio objects or RBAC, subscriptions and governance and all. So it will take around 19 sessions. That is my that is what I am hoping. But if I'm able to combine few, I will combine, and if something is big, I might have to split it. Any other questions, doubts, or anything? Do we have any common account to try PowerShell? Not as of now. I'm thinking about all those things. So by Saturday, I'll have some plan for labs and practicing. So Abhilash is telling I'm a slow learner, so quizzes are difficult to answer. Usually need multiple readings. Okay, so try out a different approach. So don't say that I'm a slow learner. So just say for a few times that I am a fast reader, and then try to answer it next time. So check whether there is any difference. So don't limit yourself. Try to read and try to practice. Okay, so this was just an introduction to AZ 104 tech series that we are going to start, or that we just started. So if you are new to cloud, I will suggest you go to AZ 900 tech series. Go through it once. You will get to know many things, and then you can come here and then we can deep dive into the Azure Administrator topics. As you saw initially today, there are a lot of things, and if you practice, then you can learn without much problem. But if you do not practice, it will be challenging. At least until you get your account, at least go through the screenshots that I am sharing in the lab materials. Okay, so thank you all for attending. See you all on a Saturday morning 8 a.m. IST. Let me know whether you want to take any session. Okay, so you can book your slot now itself. I'll guide you. I'll provide materials. I'll provide questions. I'll provide all support if you want to take. And let us all learn together and then grow together. Yes, Srinivas, next class is as of now planned for 8 a.m. IST on Saturday.